Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Gold Paladin Gurguit deck profile for post Divine Lightning Radiance. This is the newest support for the Gold Paladin clan in Cardfight Vanguard standard format. A really awesome deck focusing on the Gold Paladin units used by Tayo in the original anime series. I don't know if he's ever going to make a reappearance in the anime in the upcoming future, but hopefully this would be the deck he uses, being his go-to avatar throughout the whole series. It's a really fun deck that focuses on the defensive and offensive power that Gold Paladins use, along with the defensive playstyle that Gurguit has as a whole, as a unit, still being able to call additional units to the guard circle just like his original unit back in G format. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. Now, I wanted to get rolling on this deck, so I am missing a few cards for it. I'll show what cards you can replace with the units until you get them for your own deck as well. But to start off, I do want to run 4 Sunrise Ray Knight Gurguit. With this one on Vanguard, during your turn, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit and all of your units placed by a card ability this turn get plus 5,000 power for each of your additional rearguard circles. So with this, it's just an additional setup for each additional rearguard you have. You get more and more power. And on Vanguard, once per turn, when it attacks or is attacked, you can counterblast 1, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, and call up to 2 cards from among them to rear and shuffle your deck. If it's your opponent's turn, you can call them to the guard circle instead of the rearguard circle. So the fact that you can call them out to the guard circle is just your go-to playstyle on the defensive capabilities of the deck, but being able to also call them during the rear guard gives you additional abilities depending on what units you call out with this card onto the field. So great setup for sure with all of your plays that you can do, but also just being able to focus on that defensive capabilities with this alone and save your hand for your own plays during the next turn is a big plus for sure overall. For the backup, grade 3, I also want to run 4 Bluish Flame Liberator Percival. On Vanguard, all of your units on your additional rearguard get plus 5,000 power, so it can stand alone as a good ride target until you ride into your Gurguit, but also on Vanguard or rear. When placed, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Get an Imaginary Gift Excel. Search your deck for or drop zone for up to 1 Oath Liberator Aglavel. Call it to rear, and if you searched your deck, shuffle your deck. This ability may only be used by a card with the same name once per turn. So with this, you have more and more playstyle options on the Vanguard or rear to get an additional grade 2 rearguard, being Aglavel, but also being able to have that setup. It basically means you want to max out both of these numbers in the deck, just being the fact that they're very generic for the Gold Paladin plays in this deck, work very well as backup grade 3 units to your Gurguit in the deck as a whole for all of that setup. And the fact that you'll get additional Imaginary Gift Excels for that setup means you can even power up your main go-to grade 3 Vanguard in the deck overall, and using this still as backup. It can still hold its own on the Vanguard circle, like I said, until you ride into your main Vanguard. And then lastly, for the grade 3, just as a little more power, I thought of cards like Sagramore and Garmore, but I decided to go with my last, just as a one of tech in the deck for some more offensive capabilities, being White Hair in the Moon Shadow, Pelennor. From the hand, at the end of the battle that your rearguard's attack hit a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, you counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 3, ride this card as stand, and this unit gets drive -1 until end of turn. And on Vanguard, at the end of the battle that your rearguard attacked a Vanguard, counterblast 1, return the unit that attacked to your hand. So on Vanguard, it has great defensive capabilities, being able to basically bounce cards back to your hand for you to reuse next turn. But if you're going for the finishing attack, you have the plus power with your Gurguit, but sometimes you just need that additional push with one more Vanguard attack to finish off your opponent, and that's where the 1 Pelennor comes in, just as, like I said, a personal preference in the deck for sure, but I've definitely been liking seeing it when it does pop up for those last additional plays. And that is it for the grade 3s. We'll now move on to the grade 2s, since we are running Percival as a good backup grade 3. I'm also running 4 Oath Liberator Aglavel. On Vanguard, when placed, counterblast 1, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, call up to 1 from among them to rear, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And on rearguard, when it attacks, put another rearguard into your soul, and this unit gets plus 10,000 power until the end of that battle, and then return this unit to your hand. So you have the option to return this card and give you more and more plus power units, also setting up soul for some of the other combos we're using, including our Pelennor in the deck, but just having more of that playstyle. It's very easy to call out using cards like Percival, but you have its own setup as well as a good Vanguard ride target altogether also. But like I said, I only have the 2, but if you want, you can substitute in Sun-Loving Knight, Cuthred, until you get the additional numbers of this card for sure. I also thought Percival was a triple rare until I started, adding the card to the deck. I was definitely surprised when it was only a double rare for sure, but definitely easier to get that card also. For the other grade 2s, I'm also running 4 Knight of Spring's Light Paramore on Vanguard or rear once per turn. +1, call a grade 2 or less card from your hand to rear and draw a card. So it does have to be from your hand, but you have the draw power to add for consistency into your hand. And also on rear guard or guard circle, when placed by a card's ability, this unit gets +5,000 power and +5,000 shield, or +5,000 shield until end of turn. So with this, depending on what card you called during the turn, whether it's your opponent's turn, and you have Gurguit on Vanguard, or during your turn, you have the option for this card either to be an additional shield unit or power unit when you're attacking against your opponent or when you're defending against your opponent. So a definite 4 for sure, with its overall ride target capabilities and then just overall setup for defense or offense. And then for the rest of the grade 2s, I also run 4 Knight of Strong Favors Berengaria. On rearguard, when placed by a card's ability, perform one of the effects below. You can counterblast 1 and soul charge 1, or soul blast 1 and countercharge 1. So depending on the resources you need for that specific play, this card definitely does come in handy. You can get the additional power boosts to this card when you call it on the additional rearguard circle, giving it the +5, because I still do prefer to use Imaginary Gift XL2 with the deck, but giving you resources where you need them. If you need counterblast, this card can provide them. If you need soul, this card can provide them. Depending on what you need, just a good rearguard call using this as a staple resource. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. I definitely thought I pulled more Gorbaducks than I gathered up all together. I honestly thought I pulled one from my kit and from my booster boxes that I purchased, but I was still only able to find one. I know they're laying around here somewhere, but you do want to run 4 of this card. It's more search power. When placed from hand, being able to check the top 5 cards of your deck, revealing up to 1 grade 3 from among them, putting it into your hand and shuffling the rest into your deck. And if you put a card into your hand, you discard a card. The generic search power, like all the other grade 1, grade 3 searchers we've had, and also on Vanguard or rear during your opponent's turn, or during your turn, if 2 or more of your rear guards were called this turn, this unit gets +5,000 power, which you'll do most of the time with any gold paladin deck. So definite +5 is guaranteed with this card also. For the next in the grade 1 lineup, I am also running 4 Sunshine Knight Jeffrey. On Vanguard, when placed, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Sunrise Ray Knight Gurguit or Knight of Spring's Light Paramore from among them, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. And on rearguard or guard circle, when placed by a card's ability, this unit either gets +5,000 power or +5,000 shield until end of turn. So it's search power. It's a great ride target, your go-to ride target at that, being able to either search out your go-to grade 2 for the ride target or your go-to grade 3 for the ride target, having both the options available and usually stopping any ride inconsistencies you may have with the deck, or just going for the preferred ride all the way through all of your different plays. And then for the rest of the grade 1s, for the last spot, if you have Dindrain, the Soul Blast Draw grade 1, that's always an option to play in the deck. But if you're going off of more of this main booster pack, I have the 4 Relentless Knight Lulak as a spot. On Vanguard, when placed, discard a card from your hand and draw a card. So it's another optional, grade 1 ride target. Or when your grade 3 Vanguard is placed during your turn on rearguard, put this unit into your soul and countercharge 1. So not only will it set up soul, it'll also give you countercharge power. It's why I like running it in the deck. You kind of need those resources a little more. You have the draw power covered with a lot of your other different units, and the search power with cards like Paramore and Jeffrey. You need more of the resources to use your Vanguard with, Agleval, you name it. So being able to use Lulak for that countercharge and soul buildup definitely does come in handy for sure, and definitely needed later on in the game. And then for the grade 0s, our starter, I decided to stick with the one that basically went with the whole deck during the G format, and that is Knight of Early Dawn Coel. When wrote upon, draw a card. Then if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 1 or greater, put a quick shield ticket into your hand. So just consistency, and like I said, it's the best starter, I would say, for sure, for the Gurguit deck. So you want to basically go for this for sure as the resource, but once again, it's just player preference. All these starters have these same abilities. And for the triggered lineup, I decided to go with 8 critical for my lineup. I'm using 4 Knight of Blue Skies, Shinnok, and also 4 Scarface Lion. I'm missing the 1, sadly, of this card also, but I do like the critical pressure that you have in the deck, so that's why I chose this card as the Sentinel in the deck overall, with the last of the trigger lineup also being to the 4 Knight of Forceful Fight Nanes. This is a great power boost, especially with all the additional rearguard circles, just for that power and the multiple attacks you can do. That's why I chose this over draw triggers in the deck. If you wanted to try more of a rainbow lineup, you can always take out the Scarface Lions and put the Mark draw trigger Sentinel for this final spot also, but player preference down to the core at that spot. And then lastly, running the new heal trigger, which is the Front Trank Sage Perrin. I just really do love this art, especially for this deck. I believe we had a lion originally for G Series as the heal trigger in this deck, but this one's definitely very fitting with all the other gold paladins. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. It's definitely, like I said, my main go-to deck that I'll continue to work on. I don't know if we'll ever get any more support for this deck in the future. I would definitely like to see it. I know we strayed away from the Blonde Ezel fans and went more towards the G-Series unit, so maybe we'll see another Gurguit in the future for sure. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.